Do you think it was a legitimate election?
I think that there are lots of questions about its legitimacy. I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows.
To prevent action on something as critical as protecting our democracy.
Oh, we've got an interesting one for you today, as you saw those Hillary Clinton clips with her questioning the integrity of the 2016 election on the heels of the 2020 election. Now that Democrats are saying Republicans are questioning the elections. Look, everybody's questioning elections. We're going to dive into that deep. Stay tuned. This is Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go.
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from a dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. Today it is January 5th, the year of our Lord 2022. Starting off a brand new year with an interesting anniversary coming up. Now look, this is the disclosure that I'm going to issue when we talk about the whole January 6th thing. Everybody is going to be talking about it. Your lefty media, your mainstream media, your alphabet networks, all of the lefty media is going to be talking about, oh, the January 6th insurrection. Look, yes, it was a bad thing. It was terrible. I wish it didn't happen. However, the coverage of it has some serious questioning going on with regards to how they're saying that this is unfolding in modern American culture. So we're going to dig in deep to that. We also got to talk about the Senate filibuster rules, which are going to be broken, I think, by the Democrats in the Senate, but remains to be seen until they actually vote on it. Also, universities are quacks. Especially according to the COVID pandemic. But that is no surprise to anyone. I want to start off with this. This leads into our discussion of the January 6th, the thing that I think nobody's talking about. Look, if you have some time, stick around because I feel like everybody is missing this component and this angle, and it needs to be talked about, especially regarding election integrity. And it starts with this. Chuck Schumer in the Senate said 2 days ago, that the Senate is going to vote on whether or not they're going to change the Senate rules if they need to do so in order to pass a voting law. So there's this big federal voting law. Remember, in June of last year, President Biden was saying, well, the voting laws in Georgia are like Jim Crow on steroids. Then the federal government decided they're going to take it upon themselves to craft new voting legislation. Well, guess what? The Constitution explicitly says that voting is up to the states. And there are several senators on the Democratic side that agree with the Constitution. Would you believe that? Your Joe Manchin, your Kristen Sinema's, the guy from Montana, I forget his name. But some Democrats have some worries about breaking the Senate rules and voting on it. But all of that is regarding the voting rules. Listen to what Chuck Schumer said regarding breaking the Senate filibuster. Look, okay, so really quick recap in case you're not aware or you're a younger listener and not really sure how the Senate works. A filibuster is used to stop a vote from moving forward to the floor. When you have 60 votes in the Senate, that is when you can get cloture and then move the vote onto the floor to actually be voted on for a majority. You need 60 people in the Senate to go along with your bill before it moves on. That's what the filibuster is. And the filibuster, fortunately, is saving the Republic from the Democrats who have a very, very slim majority from doing whatever they want. So Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, are trying to get rid of that. Here's what Chuck Schumer said the other day regarding the voting in the Senate rules.
If Republicans continue to hijack the rules of the chamber to prevent action on something as critical as protecting our democracy, then the Senate will debate and consider changes to the rules on or before January 17th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Okay, so there's Chuck Schumer saying that Republicans are hijacking the rules. No, dude, those are just the rules, and they're utilizing the rules. They're not even utilizing the rules, dude. You don't have enough votes. The Senate does not have enough votes to get the crazy federal voting bill passed. So Chuck Schumer wants to bypass the filibuster, change the rules of the Senate, and then have a simple majority. Remember, nobody has a clear majority in the Senate. It's 50-50. Well, 50-48-ish, but nobody has a majority, and Democrats only have the president of the Senate, which is the vice president, Kamala Harris, as the tie-breaking vote. Thank goodness, though, for Senator Joe Manchin. Senator Joe Manchin, this is from CNN, sounded a skeptical note on Tuesday, this is from the AP, about the prospects of easing the Senate's filibuster rules, raising doubts about whether he will provide the crucial support to the Democrats' renewed push for voting legislation that is, again, unconstitutional because the Constitution explicitly says the voting laws are left up to the states, pushing for voting legislation that they say is needed to protect democracy. Holy cow, I'm so excited to go off on this whole voting legitimacy thing and it only being a one-sided issue. Spoiler alert, it is not. But back to this. Manchin told reporters that it was his absolute preference that Republicans also support any changes that he described acting on purely partisan basis as a heavy lift. So Senator Joe Manchin says he wants bipartisan support if you're going to change the filibuster rules. They're not going to get bipartisan support. So if you're following with that, that's dead in the water. It really all hinges on Senator Joe Manchin, Senator Kristen Sinema, and the guy from Montana that I could forget his name, but a pretty moderate Democrat, and probably not wanting to break the rules of the Senate. Manchin's skepticism comes just one day after Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced the Senate will vote on easing the filibuster rules, which means bypassing the 60-vote majority rule and just moving this along party lines, which, again, massive changes to the country shouldn't be decided by single party lines with no bipartisanship. That's what Joe Manchin is concerned about. In a letter on Monday to his colleagues, Schumer, a Democrat of New York, said the Senate must evolve and will debate and consider the rules changes by January 17th, Martin Luther King Day, as Democrats seek to overcome Republican opposition to their election law package. So, what's happening in the basics, most layman's terms, is there is a voting bill in the Senate. They want to pass that voting bill, which makes, in my opinion, voter fraud entirely legal. In California, I live in California, they are going to mail ballots to everyone. They also don't purge the voter rolls, and the Secretary of State's office, guess how many people they have looking into voter fraud? 2. There's 2 people in the entire state of California, 40 million people in that state who are looking into voter fraud. But nevertheless, they're going to mail ballots to every single person in the state. And the federal government, Democrats in the federal government, want to do the same on a national level. That is not going to help voter integrity at all. But the Democrats are pushing to do it. Listen to what Chuck Schumer goes on to say, because that leads us in to the very first clips of Hillary Clinton that we're going to play. Yes, Hillary Clinton. We're going to bring back Hillary Clinton on today's show. But listen to what he says is the rationale behind why they're trying so hard to get this election integrity bill in through the Senate by screwing up the filibuster rules. Watch this.
There is no better way to heal the damage of January 6th than to act so that our constitutional order is preserved for the future. If we do not act to protect our elections, the horrors of January 6th will risk becoming not the exception, but the norm.
Oh, okay.
The stakes could not be higher. So we are going to move forward.
That is, again, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer referencing, guess what, January 6th, which is tomorrow. And I wanted to get this on today because the media is going to be breathlessly covering all of the things that, this was terrible. And yes, it was bad. It was absolutely bad. The January 6th riot was awful, and I hope to never see that sort of thing again. And I think you would agree. But there are huge caveats, especially around election integrity, that the mainstream media is just absolutely missing, which brings us to this. Hillary Clinton makes her debut on Daily Caller Live with these hilarious clips. But before I get to that, I gotta tell you about this. This is more important than any of this. Inflation is on the rise. Inflation is at a 40-year high, and you need to protect your savings. Your girlfriend, your wife, all of your women in your life like jewelry. They like gold. Okay, do them a favor. Don't buy them jewelry. Invest your savings into gold. You can do that by converting your IRA to gold. You convert your 401k to a gold-backed 401k or a gold-backed IRA. It's a tax shelter. How do I do that, though? Okay, because again, seriously, you got to protect yourself against inflation. And you're probably thinking, all of this sounds great, but how do I do it? Well, good news. Daily Caller has a brand new partner in Birch Gold. And you can text JOBOB to 989898 and get a risk-free, no obligation pamphlet on how you can convert your existing retirement, your IRA, your 401k, into a gold-backed precious metal, inflation-safe IRA or 401k. You can do that by texting JOBOB to 989898 to get your free 20-page packet, everything you need to know. There's no obligation. There's no risk. Just do it. You'll thank me later. This is a friend-to-friend giving you advice. Text JOBOB to 989898. So back to this. This is, oh man. Okay. What Chuck Schumer said is pretty much an echo of what the entire mainstream media and the entire left is saying. Well, January 6th was caused by doubt in the election integrity of the United States. And that's partially true. There are a lot of rules that went into place, especially during COVID, in a lot of key states that people have huge questions and objections to. We're not going to get into all of that stuff right now, other than to say that I'm in California. I see how easily hackable the elections can be. And with Democrats trying to make it even more hackable on a nationwide scope, that is when voter integrity comes into play. Now, what's happening in the mainstream media and through the entire left is they're pitting this as a conservative problem. Well, Republicans have problems with the election. Lest we forget the 2016 election in which Hillary Clinton said these couple things. Take a look at this.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president.
What?
He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out. So I know that he knows that this wasn't on the level. I don't know that we'll ever know everything that happened, but clearly we know a lot and are learning more every day, and history will probably sort it all out.
You see article after article, headline after headline of the liberal media saying Donald Trump's unfounded false claims of election fraud. Did you see that? Did you see that, lefty media? Remember, Hillary Clinton in 2016, 2017, probably 2018, 19, was saying stuff like this constantly. Donald Trump knows he's an illegitimate president. Oh, so the whole idea of the fact that, well, the elections aren't secure isn't just coming from one side. This is not a one-party issue. She goes on in another interview to say this. Check this out again from Hillary Clinton. Also, if you haven't already, just click the little emoji button. I don't know, maybe this makes you super angry. Maybe it's hilarious to you or sad or you like it. Whatever it is, click the little emoji button. It really helps us out to get to more people because more people need to see this, because currently a lot of your lefty friends, and I know you have lefty friends, think that this is a one-sided issue. It is not. It is an American issue, which is why we need voter integrity laws that are not mailing ballots to everyone. So click the little like button, click the little share button. We really appreciate it. It helps us stay on the air and get to more people. But without further ado, listen to Hillary Clinton in another interview with Mother Jones say this.
Do you think it was a legitimate election?
I think that there are lots of questions about its legitimacy, and we don't have a method for contesting that in our system. That's why I've long advocated for an independent commission to get to the bottom of what happened.
Oh, okay. So Hillary Clinton, again, stoking the flames of voter fraud and election integrity in 2016. This is not a one-sided issue. I can't repeat that enough. Listen to this poll. This was from the Washington Post in 2017. A significant minority of Clinton supporters say the election victory of Donald Trump was illegitimate. Does that sound familiar, just reversed on the other side? According to a new Washington Post ABC News poll, the poll finds that 74% of Americans say they accept the election as Trump as the legitimate president. 18% Do not. That's of all Americans. A 58% majority of Clinton supporters say they accept Trump's election. Wow, get this. This is not a small number. While 33% do not. A third of Hillary Clinton voters said the election in 2016 was illegitimate. This is not a one-sided issue, regardless of how much your mainstream media and your lefty news outlets try to tell you that it is. Oh, the conservatives are too harpy. They haven't found any evidence of voter fraud. There's no way that this could be illegitimate. That's just their problem. No, it's their problem too. Seems like, and this is me coming from as an objective and opinion as I can, it seems like whoever wins, the other side claims that it's illegitimate. And that is an actual problem that we have in the United States of America. Not to mention, I'm not going to get into this. There's some thoughts I have on Speaker Pelosi and her role that she played in the post-January 6th riot that maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow on the actual day, save some of that stuff. But the bottom line is this. You're going to get browbeaten over the head constantly about how conservatives are trying to destroy democracy. But know this. Actually, let me bring up this poll before we move on. Let me make it bigger so you can see it, and I got to take myself out so you can see the years. This is an Axios survey of 1,200 adults from November 3rd to November 14th, a percentage reporting a great deal or a fair amount of confidence by party. Check this out. This is a great deal of confidence and a fair amount of confidence in the election. 39% of Democrats in 2019 said they had only 39% of Democrats said they had a good, a fair amount of confidence. Only 39%. And 72% of Republicans said they had a fair amount of confidence. And guess what? In 2021, it just freaking reversed. That is that is what's going on in the United States. If you can see this, the lines crisscross. They just cross. It seems like whoever wins the election, the other side says this claims to be illegitimate. That is the actual problem. Whether or not you're a Republican, whether or not you're a Democrat, the problem that we all are going to have is if we lose faith entirely in our elections, and both sides are doing it. I, for one, think the solution probably is to go back to the old way of voting. I don't know why we decided to change the way you're voting. If you need to submit a mail ballot because of some grave disability, or you're overseas, or you're in the military, fine. You're allowed to submit a mail ballot. Everybody else needs to go to their polling place, show their ID, receive a ballot, vote in private, put it in a concealed box, and then election officials can count them in the public eye of everybody. It seemed to work for a long time. I don't know why we got rid of that. But if we continue to go down the path of making voting laws just kind of ambiguous, sending mail ballots to anybody, anybody can register, we don't purge the voting rolls, all of this sort of stuff, which, look, there might not be any fraud. I don't actually know. What I do know is the fact that the perception of fraud is just as bad as actual voter fraud itself. If we lose confidence in the election as an American people, we are doomed. End of rant for that. I gotta get to this. I gotta move on. We're gonna talk more about the election issue, the voter issues going on tomorrow, especially with the January 6th anniversary coming up. That's the only thing anybody's going to be talking about, and it's going to be widely misreported. I'll have some thoughts on that tomorrow. But I want to get to this. University COVID policy defies reason. There was a great article in Common Sense, which I believe is Bari Weiss's Substack. If you don't follow Bari Weiss, she's a former editor at the New York Times who resigned because the New York Times news office just went completely woke. But she's awesome. But this is from Dr. McCary, professor at Johns Hopkins. Some of these statistics are going to blow you away. And some of the things that our universities are doing are absolutely ridiculous. However, if you're going to send your kid to a university, and I'm not sure that you should, you need to have some sort of savings that isn't faltered completely by inflation. Inflation is at a 40-year high, if you haven't heard. 6.8%. It is outrageous. And the best way that you can protect your savings from inflation, which is a hidden tax by the government, is to invest in precious metals. Gold specifically. Look, you probably have a retirement account. I have a retirement account. You probably have an IRA. You probably have a 401k. Any of those things can be converted into a gold-backed IRA and a gold-backed 401k. And that specifically is a specialty of Birch Gold, the partner of the Daily Caller. You can text JOBOB to 989898. Look, you may be thinking, I don't know anything about how I can transfer my IRA or my 401k into a gold-backed IRA and 401k. I don't know how to do that. Good news, you're in luck. Just do what's on the screen. Type JOBOB in your phone. I know you all have your phones sitting right next to you. JOBOB into the phone and 989898. That's the number you text. You'll get a free, no obligation, no cost, no nothing pamphlet of exactly how you can take the steps to protect yourself and your family against the government stealing your money by way of inflation. So text JOBOB to 989898. Learn how to convert your existing IRA or 401k into a gold-backed IRA and 401k. To get to this, back to this. This sounds very official and newsy. Back to this. University policies defy logic. This is something that we've all already known, but the statistics and some of the practices going on in American elite universities are troubling. Check this out. This is from Marty McCary, who is not only a doctor, but a professor at Johns Hopkins, a pretty well-renowned individual. He's writing this in Barry Weiss's Substack. Universities are supposed to be the bastion of critical thinking, reason, and logic, but the COVID policies they've adopted, policies that have derailed 2 years of university educations, threaten to end an upcoming spring semester. They've exposed them as nonsensical, anti-scientific, and often downright cruel. Some of America's most prestigious universities are leading the charge. The university systems have gone insane and lost their minds. Now, we've all known that. We've all known the wokeness of it has gone completely off the rails. But did you know that these sorts of things were happening? At Georgetown University, fully vaccinated students are randomly tested for COVID each week, despite the fact that even though you're super young and also fully vaccinated, you still can get it and not have any symptoms whatsoever. And hold on, aren't you supposed to not be able to spread it either? Isn't that a thing that the lefty media is continuing to push? Using a PCR test, which can detect tiny amounts of dead virus, asymptomatic students who test positive are ordered to a room in a designated building where they spend 10 days in confinement. Food is dropped off once a day at their door. That is going on in an American university. He goes on to say this, and this is, again, something that we've all known for a very long time. Students are at the lowest risk population on the planet Earth. Over the last 6 months, the risk of a person in the broader group, 15 to 24 years old, dying of COVID or dying with COVID, the CDC does not clearly distinguish. Okay, again, if you die with COVID, you're marked down as a COVID death. We've all known this for 18 months, a year and a half. Dr. Fauci is just now saying it. I'm not kidding. This is brand new from Dr. Fauci's mouth. If you fall into that category, your chances of dying are 0.001%. And again, that is just death with COVID, whether or not it's actually COVID killing you. Yet the universities are still doing that to students. At Princeton University, fully vaccinated students are not allowed to leave the county unless they are on a sports team. They're also testing all students twice a week, absurding the scarce testing supply for vulnerable communities so the low-risk young people can use them. Again, young people not at risk at all to this thing. Yet the Princeton University is hoarding all of the tests. Can you find a test where you live? I tried to find one for my wife the other day because I probably had the stupid thing a week ago. Kind of got the sniffles, kind of felt a little bad, ran it off. Fine, she's fine, everybody's fine. Couldn't find a test, so it is what it is. Yet Princeton is testing every single student twice a week. So there's that. This is where the dagger hits, and this is what I think needs to be echoed throughout the entire internet, the online media, the mainstream media, but it probably won't get any traction there. But I'm going to read it here. From the beginning of the pandemic, again, this is Dr. Marty McCary, professor at Johns Hopkins University. From the beginning of this pandemic, the risk of COVID to young people has always been extremely low, a finding public health officials have downplayed instead of acknowledged. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, children have represented 0.00% or 0.27% of all COVID-19 deaths. Again, that is with COVID or of COVID. The CDC does not distinguish which. Last week, the CDC reported the weekly deaths of people 18 to 29 has decreased to 0% out of 1 in 5 million. Not 0%, zero. Just absolutely zero. I'm going to read that again. Last week, the CDC reported the weekly deaths in people aged 18 to 29 has decreased to 0. And what did it decrease to 0 from? Well, it was only at 1 out of every 5 million. I'll take those odds pretty much any day of the week to go live my life freely in the free country of the United States of America. So why are we imposing this kind of martial law on students to ever so slightly reduce the chance they develop a mild illness? Boom, roasted, it's over. Look, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but we need to get on with our lives. No more of this lockdown madness, especially when it comes to kids in schools. This is the university level, and I know this is happening in school districts around probably wherever you live. If you live in Chicago, school teachers are on strike today. I'm pretty sure today none of the teachers are supposedly showing up. The mayor, Lori Lightfoot. I agree with Lori Lightfoot on this. Lori Lightfoot said, teachers, you need to show up to class, but they're not in droves. Why? Because they're afraid of getting the sniffles from the Omicron variant. Absolutely ridiculous what is going on in our schools and our universities. Let me see if I can read any of these comments. Sorry, I was a little bit on a rant today. William says students should ask for their tuition back. Well, good news, William. Elizabeth Warren says that student loans are all going to be forgiven, so it's all going to be free anyway. And speaking of that, I'm looking forward to my college tuition refund that the government will so aptly give me, because my family, my parents, myself, were able to pay off our student loan debt in a timely manner, knowing what we were getting into and paying that off accordingly. So yeah, I would say they're within their rights to ask for their tuition back. Travis says it's a dictatorship. Yeah, it is. This is funny. Claudia, Dr. Fraudchi. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, a lot of more of that, a lot of let's go Brandons. Voting laws, let's go Brandon. Cool. Now, hey, I appreciate you guys commenting on this and engaging with each other. It really helps us out in the algorithm. If you have something to say, let it fly, let it rip. We can read some of these while we're on air, but sometimes it's a little bit difficult because I'm a little bit heated today about voter integrity, among other things. But really appreciate all the engagement that we get on this show. It's been huge, phenomenally through the roof. I mentioned the other day that we somehow beat CNN in the ratings like 2 months ago. It just on one day, but it's a pretty big step. So I appreciate everybody who watches every single day and tunes in and comments and engages and interacts with everything that we're doing. If you haven't already, I would appreciate a follow on all of these social media platforms if you have them. Jobob, just type in Jobob anywhere. Twitter, social media, Getter. I'm on Getter now, just Jobob. I'm verified there. I'm not verified anywhere else, interestingly enough. But go ahead and follow me. You can send me stories about things that are happening in your neck of the woods. That's where I do get, I don't know, probably 20% of the things we talk about is people just send them to me and like, oh, this is interesting. I take in a lot of media myself, but there's only so much I can do in a single day. So send it along if it's interesting to you. The best way you can do that is following me on social media at Jobob, literally Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Getter, all of the places you can find me. There's not many Jobobs out there, let alone brown ones. So would appreciate a follow on any of those. That's going to do it for us today. We'll see you tomorrow with another pretty interesting episode of Daily Caller Live, where we discuss more in detail the January 6th riot and how it's being covered in the media. I have some thoughts. If you're free later today, it's around, I don't know, 2:30 Western Pacific time, 5:30 Eastern time. I will be on TPUSA Live down in Phoenix, Arizona. Got to hop on a plane here in about an hour. To get down there, we'll be talking about a bunch of different stuff in the news of the day. So 2:30 on TPUSA, I'll be there contributing then. I'll also be back here tomorrow, same time, same place. I know we got started a little bit early, but we will see you then to discuss the news of the day. God bless America.